Okay, here we've got Battles in the East. This is volume 1 of this set of games by Decision Games. This is one map. Well, it's got 2 battles in the box, but each one is a 1 map operational World War II game, Germany against Russia. These, I believe, are set in 1944. Let's have a look in the box and see if it says. Yes, Warsaw 1944 and the Vistula Bridgehead 1944. I'm playing this battle here, Bagration Stopped, Warsaw 1944. You can see a map here. Nice map, by the way, mounted map, linen finish. Really nice production values by Decision Games here, and I've set up Bagration Stopped. So what is this about then? It's a fairly simple looking 1 map operational game. Last 10 turns. Pretty standard odds based CRT, movement points, some supply. Yeah, it's looking quite simple and straightforward. This rule book, fairly thin, 16 pages, including a front cover and a sequence of play on the back. So perhaps 12 pages of rules in here once you get through the intro and the contents page. So yeah, quite a slim rule book. Like I say, odds based CRT, 1 to 3, 10 to 1, column shifts for various stuff. Terrain effects chart, movement point costs, effects on combat, all the stuff you'd expect, and setup charts for the Russians and Germans. I mean, it's looking pretty clean and simple to me. If I were to try and pick some notable points about it, just for a summary, there's an idea of headquarters which provide supply, and they're either in attack supply or they're not, and if they are, then they can supply units for full strength attacks, and if they're not, you can only have half strength attacks. And whether they are or are not in attack supply is largely dictated by the scenario, so you have to make use of the opportunities where your HQ are in attack supply to do your attacking. What else have we got? Zones of control. That you have to stop when you enter. You can't move from one zone of control to another zone of control, and to leave a zone of control unless you're overrunning or forcing the thing projecting the zone of control to retreat. Otherwise you have to pay two movement points to leave that zone of control, and you can't move directly into another one. So there's a sort of quite locking zones of control in this game. Yes, attack supply. Those are really the sort of key elements to me that look like they're going to provide a lot of the flavour here. However, the situation's quite dynamic, so I'm going to go straight into that. We've got a German force here along the Vistula River, so they're defending Warsaw, and then down the Vistula River line here you can see pretty thinly spread down here. I've set the German, both sides up actually, and then we've got a Russian force here and here, but there's loads more Russians about to come on, mainly from this board edge. There's another army about to come on. These are its entry hexes, and the Germans have blocked one of them, so it's about to come on here and up that board edge, and there's about 4 or 5 more armies of this sort of size about to thunder onto the map in turn 1. So we can see that there's something of a wedge that can be driven between the 2 German forces, one sort of defending forward of the Vistula here, and one defending behind the Vistula here, and this Russian force wants to drive up and take these red star hexes, which are worth victory points here. Another one in here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the last one? Maybe in here. 5. Yeah. So there's 5 victory point hexes in there. They'd like to get across the Vistula for victory. They can also get immediate victory by taking this town, Radom, or by taking this town, Modlin, or by taking all 4 city hexes of Warsaw. So those 3 on the west bank of the Vistula, and I assume this one on the right bank. So if they can take all of Warsaw, or Modlin, or Radom, then they can claim an auto victory for that. And they've got 10 turns. If they don't manage an auto victory, then it's victory points, and they get those for those 5 hexes there, and by taking hexes across the Vistula and so on. So yeah, pretty tough time for the Germans here by the looks of things. That will become clear when the scale of the Russian reinforcements on turn 1 come in. So I'm coming up with a plan here, and we've got attack supply for these guys here at the moment, these guys here, and another, and some reinforcements that are due to come on. The Poles here are not in attack supply as of yet. So the plan for me here is to march my infantry as fast as I can up in this direction. I'm going to push the Poles and this tank, 8th Guard tank. This is, I think, the HQ will tell us what it is. Oh no, 2nd tank. The 2nd tank army in there. This lot is going to advance as rapidly as it can, and try and take Sarok this turn and put a threat on the auto win of capturing Modlin, and try and force the Germans into very, very awkward decisions about how to defend both Warsaw and Modlin. And we're going to try and prevent them from rushing stuff from this area to aid that defence by a separate attack with the 8th Guards army here, to try and put pressure on Radom, and we'll have another army coming in here which is also going to swing this way. So we're going to try and use those 2 to push this way, these 2 to push up towards Modlin, and this lot to try and push up here, and we'll hope that the pressure from this side keeps this lot honest. And that's the sort of Russian plan as I envisage it, and I'm going to crack on with that now. Okay, then, battles in the east. Bagration stopped here, decision games. I've done the initial moves and attacks for the Soviets. The Russians have pushed across the Vistula down south here by this village of Pulevi. Interestingly, they did two step losses on this German regiment here, but you can't. The defender, unless they're trapped by zones of control, always has the option to trade retreats for step losses, and so it's quite hard to inflict losses, especially when you're attacking across rivers, because clearly you aren't going to have that kind of surrounding going on. But they've made a start in terms of crossing the Vistula here and hustling their way towards Radom over here. Similarly up here, forced back that stack there with a single step loss, which prompted it to have to, and they took the retreat instead of the loss, obviously. We've sort of just foraged our way forward in the centre here without attacking. The 2nd tank here with Rokossovsky has pushed right up, as was the plan, to threaten to take this Sorok and to cross the river and cause all kinds of threats on Modlin. And over this side, where we don't have attack supply, we've just pushed up against the German forces to try and make manoeuvre for them as tough as possible. Especially in here, you can see we were able to get in and around a lot of these German infantry regiments, and they're going to have trouble, working their way out of these spots because of the zones of control and so on. So we're just trying to make it difficult for them right now, and then hopefully push when we've got some attack supply. So another interesting feature of this game is there's a double movement section for mechanized units. Mechanized are units like this that have, so the numbers across the bottom are attack strength on the left, defense strength in the middle, and movement on the right. the white box on the right movement means it's mechanized, and if you see blue and red figures, that's just an armour shift bonus or a defensive anti-tank shift bonus, like the red 3 there. So you've got sort of tanks and mechanized with blue attack strengths, and then you've got stuff with red defense strengths, and that means the shifts cancel each other out unless it's heavy armour, blah blah blah. Never mind that. Yes, so anything that's now got a mechanized movement value on the Russian side gets another movement phase, and how far it can move is based on this chart here, and it's based again on whether you're in attack supply, general supply, or out of supply. So if you're out of supply, you don't get one, but if you're in attack supply, you get half movement rounded up, and if you are in general supply, quarter movement rounded up. So for example, the stuff in this army here, second tank army here, they are in attack supply, and so they're going to get half movement rounded up. So all this mechanized stuff is going to get 4 movement points. And so we can do some serious stuff here, because just for example, well, what we're planning to do, so we'll push the 8 guard tank across the river here into Sarok and take that. That costs a movement point plus 3 for the major river, but that's 4 movement points, and we can cross into here for 4 movement points and take it. Down here we've got 4 movement points, and oh, by the way, we have to be in supply, but our HQ is here, and he's got a range of 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, 6, 7. So I'd checked that before I did this. So he's got 4 movement points. So for example, he can cross this minor river here for 2 into here. That would be 2, and then up the road would be 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and we could be there threatening an auto victory in turn 2 to take Modlin, unless the Germans can do something about it. And then we can also be a nuisance, for example, become in here for 2. I mean, technically I think there's a problem here, because I think there should be a German unit here in the north bit of Warsaw, but I need to check that, because if there isn't, then I think the Russians would auto win this scenario, because this setup is automatic. You've not got any choices about it, and therefore you've not got any way to prevent this move, because the Russians move first. And if there's nothing in here, the Russians can technically move in here and then in here, and then I don't think there's any way of preventing I don't think there's a way of getting a German unit now into Modlin and preventing an auto victory in turn 2. So I'm going to have to check this quite carefully, because otherwise I'd have significant concerns about the setup in this scenario, because I think I could always take Modlin, because there's nothing around to stop me. So let me look at this. Okay, so I checked it, and there's nothing preventing me from pushing into this northern suburb of Warsaw. So I have done with a sort of sacrificial cavalry unit from the 7th Guard Cavalry Corps here, to just make life as difficult as possible in terms of manoeuvre for the Germans. Yes, maybe a bit of a sacrificial lamb, and we've pushed some armour on the far side of this minor river here up against 19th Panzer here, just to make their life really difficult, to squeeze them as much as possible. And we're going to ask the Germans the question, how are they going to prevent us from taking Modlin? And I think the answer to that is that they are going to have to use a move and a mechanized move. But I think that's going to be incredibly difficult for them, because the mechanized move from this guy he's only in general supply on turn 1, which means it's only going to be a quarter move. And I think the best bet they've got is these guys here. And I don't see how it happens for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. I can get them here because there's no zones of control across major rivers, but unless they can find an extra half a point of movement from somewhere, they aren't going to make it. And I think this guy here prevents them from doing that. So so it's going to be real tough. Yeah, really tough. So yeah, I think the Germans might be in something of an impossible situation here if you play the Russians and exploit these moves just to threaten, model in and push through, because like I say, this setup is set. There's no, on the setup chart, you get to set up HG Panzer 2105 within 2. That's 2105 within 2. Okay, so I guess the sensible thing to do then, so as not to end the game immediately, is to jig where these guys set up and put them here. And understand that they have to be able to get back to Modlin and defend it on this first turn, otherwise you lose. Right, good. Onward. Okay, so we're coming into the German movement phase here in turn 1. Battles in the East, Bagration Stopped, victory games, you know the drill. So the Russian moves have cut this 4th Panzer armoured regiment, quite a nice armoured regiment, out of supply in this town of Zagrezi. There's no way to trace supply out of there that doesn't cross swamps, which isn't allowed, or major rivers, which isn't allowed. There's no way to trace supply across this major river or through this road anywhere. So he's out of supply. And then up over here, they've effectively cut this guy here out of supply as well, because these 2 hexes are both in zones of control, and he's going to struggle to get out of there at all. He's only got 3 strength points, those 2 regiments. They're going to struggle to fight their way out of there on any kind of odds at all. And so I don't know how I'm going to actually extricate those back into a defensive position. This all looks really quite alarming at the moment. So the Germans with some moves to do, and as I say, I think only a hasty rearrangement of our setup down here to put this HG Panzer division, these 3 regiments, into a better spot will allow them to make a break for modelling and prevent the auto victory. Let's go. Turn 1 here in Bagration Stopped, and I've done the initial German moves. Don't think there's going to be much combat from the Germans because they've been trying to reposition, so just trying to get away and into something of a more defensive structure here. They have managed to pull these units up round to defend the city here and just cover the river line a little bit, just try and get some semblance of a defence around Warsaw, pulled away from the central area in here. No point defending that and got some defences down in depth down here, and just try to escape the clutches of the Red Army as it closes in from the west. So yeah, we're just trying to pull back so that we can defend things that we want to defend rather than just being held in place. This unit is unable to get out of this quagmire, but we were able to move other units around and just start, you know, defending a tree line in here and get our HQ somewhere sensible, and yeah, just try and pull. We pulled 4th SS back into this area here. Wasn't quite sure what to attack. Well, we couldn't really line up any attacks with it, and this is the least interesting thing to attack, so, and that's what was engaging us. But you know, just trying not to get drawn into battles that aren't doing us any good. So I don't think there's going to be much in the way of combat. I will check to see if we want to do anything in Warsaw, but with this HQ not in it, this HQ isn't an attack supply, so I very much doubt there's an attack here, even though we suspect this is out of supply. And yeah, it may not be as well, because there's no restrictions for the Russians tracing supply across major rivers, so they may be able to trace in here and around here and back to its HQ there, so it may well be in supply. Anyway, it's only got one defence, but still, without attack supply of our own, I don't think it looks like a good idea. So I think we may be moving on swiftly into turn 2. Of course, I have to do the German mechanized movement, so any mechanized German stuff, which is quite a lot, will have an opportunity for possibly a quarter move or a half move. So let's look at that, and then move on. And of course, they've got some infantry. Well, these are cavalry, but these are mechanized movements. So, for example, these guys have both got moves, so I've got to be careful here. They may well have some additional opportunity to reposition, which could be very valuable for them. Battles in the east here, decision gains. Bagration stopped, end of the second Russian turn. The Germans being cut to pieces at the moment. Russian breakthroughs all over the place, not quite sure where this is going. The Russians are broken through convincingly down here on the south edge of the board. They've made breakthroughs here. You can see this set of units here are now trapped by zones of control, pretty much useless. Up here, these guys are now surrounded and, you know, completely enveloped by Russian troops. Are going to struggle, well, simply can't move from zone of control to zone of control, so are trapped in place, just awaiting their fate. Nothing happening up around Warsaw, but the Russians have broken through and captured Pultusk up here with the 8th Guard Tank Brigade, the 60th and 58th Guard Tank Brigades. What else has happened? Oh yeah, over this side, these Germans attempting to pull back are simply being harassed and enveloped in an ever increasingly large sort of groups of Russian troops converging on their positions. They're going to get trapped and swallowed up pretty soon. These guys may have some chance of escape, but there's swamp and a major river blocking their attempts. The Bug River stopping their attempts to get back into a useful position. Up over here, Germans just got decimated in here, and there's one step of unit left in there. Again, this guy's trapped by zones of control all over the place. And up here, they've just been wiped out in this area, and there's some cavalry up over there, and not a lot left to defend. So yeah, right now, 2 turns in, it's an absolute demolition job by the Russians. No idea how the Germans are meant to defend here, as we go into the German portion of turn 2.